Their job, to protect the trebuchets whilst they are under construction. This is the very latest in trebuchet design. Look, wheels inside the machine. What are they for? I will tell you. Traditionally, you load a trebuchet by pulling down the throwing arm and lifting the counterweight using beasts of burden, horses and oxen. It's always been done that way, and to be honest, it's always worked. But a couple of niggling problems with that system. If you take horses and oxen to war with you, you tie up a percentage of your troops just looking after animals. Now these are men that you can't really spare. Also, your enemy will be trying to cut off your supply chain. They succeed, you will run out of food. Hungry soldiers are not reasonable. They will either rise up against you or just disappear into the night. You can't let that happen. So they end up eating the horses and the oxen. Then you've no way of loading your trebuchet. But somebody somewhere had a brilliant idea. Another way. A way that we can use our soldiers. How? We borrow the technology of the medieval cranes. The same cranes that helped us build our cranes. Ingeniously simple. Just huge wheels. But men walk inside. So you take two crane wheels and you put them inside the trebuchet. The two wheels are linked by a central axle. Take 4 men, put 2 in each wheel and get them to walk that way. There's a rope attached to the throwing arm, goes down for a pulley and then up to the central axle. There it is tied on. The men's walking action tightens the rope around the axle, pulling down the arm and lifting the counterweight. That huge wooden box that hangs in the middle of the machine. That box and its contents weighs just over 5 tons. So you witness 4 people lift that incredible weight just through their labour. Amazing. But there is one drawback with this system. If one of the winders makes the mistake of looking forward through the slats in the wheel, you get a shimmering light, and this brings on trebuchet sickness, a form of motion sickness. And it's not unheard of for a trebuchet winder to literally throw up inside the wheel. Not a good idea. Think about it. You throw up in an environment where the floor becomes the ceiling, it goes everywhere, all over everybody else, but most importantly, it coats the inside of the wheel, making it extremely slippy and taking that trebuchet out of action until it can be cleaned up. That is not a good thing. Right, the arm is down. It is locked down by a trigger, which is pushed through a metal hoop on the arm. That is the release mechanism. Below the trigger, the trebuchet master is pushed in the steel pin, so you can't pull the trigger until you take the pin out. It's there for safety. And just to be doubly sure, he's also locked on a chain as well. So the shooting sequence will be, remove the chain, pull out the pin, and then you can pull the trigger. Right, it's back into the wheels and walk the other way. Why? Because of the rope, the one that is tight around the axle. You can't shoot the machine until that rope is out of the way. So it's back into the wheels. Don't walk that way, turn round and walk that way and wind it off. And that's exactly what they're doing now. We've got a problem. The winder in this wheel's struggling. Yes, it looks like trebuchet sickness. Going to be sick. The trebuchet master rushes across. Probably they'll give him a drink. Hard, isn't it? Brutal, isn't it? But of course it is. This is war. That member of the crew just endangered everybody else. Tomorrow, we march upon London, the capital of England, our capital. We then attack it. We take a man who believes he is King of England by God-given right. And then we replace him with our own personal choice. If we fail by tomorrow night, all of these people will be dead and my head will be on a spike on London Bridge. Failure is not an option. We have to succeed. We must drive them on. Now this engine is capable of shooting a 150 kilo rock, well over 300 pounds. I have 100 trebuchets. Do I load them all with rocks? Select a section of the city wall and bombard it relentlessly, until eventually we blast a hole in it. But that's not the end, is it? They will then fight like demons. That is going to cost a lot of lives, and it's going to take a lot of time. And we know we haven't got time. Yorkist reinforcements are already mobilised, and they march upon the capital. We have to get there first and do the deed before they arrive. But what if we succeed? What do we end up with? We end up with a city with a huge hole in the wall. How do we then defend it against the Yorkist counter-attack? No, that is no good. We must take London with its outer wall intact. How do we do that? We do that by throwing things over the wall. Why don't we fight a dirty war? Empty all the trees in the area, find dead and rotten animals, load them into the trebuchets and throw it into the city, spreading disease. It's going to take too long. What if? Psychological approach. We already have Yorkist prisoners. Why don't we chop off their heads, put their heads into baskets and throw those in as well? Weaken their resolve. It's going to take too long. So why don't we play the ace which is up my sleeve? There is one thing that medieval man feared more than anything else, and that is fire. The City of London is packed with timber buildings, thatched roofs, and only a handshake between them. If we can turn it into an inferno, it won't be long before they're opening the doors and casting Edward out. So that will be my plan. So this afternoon in our drill, we are going to shoot a fireball!
Yeah.
80 kilo rock, wrapped in sacking, soaked in fuel all afternoon. You can't put it in a sling, it is set in a light. Within the rock is set a ring, a chain to the ring, a rope to the chain. You hook it onto the end of the arm and you launch the entire thing. Comes out of the fuel mixture onto the trough and on to the hook. The loader is ordered out of the way. The Trebushet trainmaster makes his safety checks. Is he happy with the machine? Has anybody or anything wandered onto our shooting range? Happy, he steps up and takes sole responsibility for this engine of death. First of all, he removes the chain. Then he gently draws the pin from below the trigger, making the machine live. Steps down, takes the rope which leads to the trigger and orders the lighting of the projectile, which is add fire. The projectile is torched and begins to burn in the middle of the trebuchet. Now he must hold his nerve. Pull the trigger too soon, it goes out. Too late, and his trebuchet is on fire. So he holds. And he holds. We launch! Fantastic, ladies and gentlemen, the Warwick Castle Trebushet! Now that is not achieved without an awful lot of hard work, especially on a warm afternoon like this. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to fill your lungs and I want you to give the biggest cheer you ever